All right, let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow, a team that, hey, this is better than previous years. They won a football game. They are able to, feel good about that at the very least. But there's no denying this was just a deflating victory for them. They're going against a team that many people feel as though might be the first overall pick contender this season, and they were barely able to get the victory. The weirdest part about this game, though, wasn't that it ended up being close, because I actually predicted that might happen. The Bengals defense has not played well especially last year, didn't play well in the preseason. But what was surprising was how inept the offense looked in the second half. They had 6 overall offensive yards in the second half. Only one possession went for more than 3 plays, and they had 6 possessions. It's not like they had only 2 possessions or one of those weird situations. So what the hell happened? Well, first, I should mention that they did have a very good start to the game. Only 3 drives in the first half, but they looked very good in these drives. First, the play you see on your screen, Joe Burrow is going to take the snap on this 3rd down and 4. I'll show a few plays that you see. Great throw to T. Higgins, great catch there. This one on a 3rd down and 8, you saw Burrow go further down the field, a nice catch there as well. This one kind of finding the soft spot in the zone coverage with Jamar Chase. You even saw him kind of using his legs a little bit, which he obviously can do. They even had this one where they drew up, pass interference on this play, helped set up another touchdown. So yeah, really strong start. That should be mentioned. And then things really cooled off. So what happened? How did they get so little going in the second half? Well, let's get into it. The first drive in the second half, yes, this is the first drive in the second half for them. The Browns had a long drive. That was a part of it. Browns were trying to control the clock, limit the possessions. That was part of their strategies. So because of that, that's, you get less bites at the apple, I guess. Is that an expression? That sounds like an expression. I think it is. Anyway, moving on. The Bengals ran a couple of plays just to kind of set up a 3rd down and short, and then decide, let's go deep with this one. We have Jamar Chase one-on-one on the outside. Let's take advantage. As you see, so Joe Burrow is going to take the snap. He is going to attempt to take advantage there, and it does not quite work out. Good defense on that play as well by the Cleveland Browns. That was Greg Newsome, who did, not coming off his best year, so credit to him. I mean, one thing that you have to remind yourself, I think, is this Browns defense isn't bad. The Browns defense does have players. So that's a part of it. I also thought coaching really came into play here. So heading over here, this is a 3rd down and 4. This was the one drive in the second half that was not a 3 and out, where they got inside the 20 here. They didn't gain a ton of yards. They had a short field, but what's going to happen is it's a man coverage concept, and the Bengals are going to have what's essentially like a pick play or a rub route, whatever you want to call it. You have the number 2 receiver running a route, just trying to get in the way of the defensive back. The number 1 receiver cuts over the middle. He's the one you're going to look towards here. But what's interesting about this play is how ready for it that Cleveland Browns linebacker is going to be. Watch what he does on this play. Burrow is going to quickly hit his receiver, but that linebacker gets all the way over and is able to make the play. So what does that tell you in this situation? That's Carson Schwessinger, who is a rookie who the Browns really like. To me, he was the first overall pick of the second round. To me, well, maybe that's just the young kid making a great read. He's a rookie player. I think that this is probably more of a coaching thing. I think the Browns, who, divisional matchups, things get weird for this reason. You know each other so well. It is possible that Zach Taylor a little bit too predictable on this play. Heading over here, I do have to put some criticism on Joe Burrow. I do. Again, it ended up being such a small sample size because they, kept missing on these plays that they didn't get to really get into a rhythm. But nonetheless, you have a situation here where it's a zone coverage concept that the Browns are in. But, in cover 2 zone, there usually is that gap kind of in between where the corner and the safety are. And really for Burrow, he's going to try and look in that direction. Again, 2nd down and 9, you're up a point. You obviously want to be up more than that. And when this play begins, I'm going to pause it right here. This is when Burrow gets into throwing motion. And again, a play like this can kind of highlight just how difficult it is to play quarterback in the NFL, but he's a little bit late on this, actually. Yes, it's just now clearly about to get open and you sometimes want to wait. But this is why you have to sometimes throw with anticipation, especially in a situation like this. These are difficult throws, even with being on the hash marks on the correct side of the field. You have to really get it there in a hurry. Burrow throws it, and the safety's going to make a great play to close in and knock Higgins out of bounds so they don't get the conversion there. But like, you throw it out a little bit earlier, and that is a easy, 15-plus yard gain, and you're on the outside of field goal range. So again, good defense by Cleveland. You got to give Cleveland credit. When I dove into this tape, I was a lot more impressed with Cleveland's defense than I think people are giving them credit for. But still, this was an opportunity. Granted, there was also stuff like this, where this is a 3rd down and 9 situation. The Cleveland Browns are going to have a blitz. You see the route on the screen that could work on 3rd and 9, right? Now, this one's a little tougher because you're on the hash marks towards the top of the screen still, now throwing to the other side of the field. Burrow takes a snap. 2 things happen. One thing is Myles Garrett clobbers him. Another thing is Burrow still throws a pretty accurate pass on that one. Can't quite get the conversion there, but like almost there. So again, it just feels like if they hit on a couple more of these plays, the whole feel just feels different, right? And in some ways, that's a good thing. You assume the Bengals will start to hit on these plays and get better. So there is that. But also, Myles Garrett did a really good job on that stunt, and we have to talk more about Myles Garrett, I think, because there is also this possession where this is where a lot of the lost yards came from that kind of hurt the overall total yards of the second half for the Cincinnati Bengals. 1st and 10, again, 9 minutes left. Can they kind of, kill some clock here, get a nice long drive, and make something happen? Well, instead, watch Myles Garrett on this play. Very quickly beats the left tackle, gets to Joe Burrow for a sack. Also on the next play, Myles Garrett would once again beat the left tackle and get the sack. And then on this play, not Myles Garrett this time, but it was the teammates, and Garrett was still kind of in the area when the tackle happened. 3 straight sacks. That's an issue, and we knew this was going to be an issue going in. The offensive line for the Cincinnati Bengals is just nowhere near what you would want for a for a good team. It just isn't, and it didn't play like that. Again, you're not going to have to go up against Myles Garrett. Well, you have to do it once more, but you only have to do it once more. You're not going to have to do it every week, right? Things will get easier, but ultimately, this was in many ways kind of a layup game to start the season. Again, like I said, the Browns are projected to be a not very good football team, and to have the amount of possessions that they had, and in the second half really struggling, you got to give credit to the Browns defense, but this is just not what you want. How do I feel about it moving forward? Well, here's the good news. The good news is that Joe Burrow's going to make more plays. Joe Burrow made a lot of plays in the first half, had a couple opportunities where he didn't make plays in the second half. That's not going to happen every game. Even the best quarterbacks have sort of off games, and you'll get better that way. I do think the receivers will get more open, make the tougher catches as well, and that should just make things look easier. The bad news is, like, this offensive line's not going to get any better. So, going to have to figure out something. Protect them as much as you can. Get the ball out as quick as you can. That might be the strategy. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Hey, you won the game. That's the other good news. Better than last year when you lost to the Patriots, right? It could be worse. Ultimately, a win is still a win. But those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.